Captain Picard. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
My Readier Room.
And welcome to the Readier Room, the only and longest-running Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast. My name is Mitchell Nels, and every week, alongside my partner Brandon Hobbs, we're bringing you on-the-set stories and hidden lore of TNG, even some data on occasion. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Doing okay, Mitch.
Yeah?
We have quite the episode to talk about this week.
We do. Which I've been excited for ever since I watched it. It's been a very thrilling, almost 7 hours now waiting to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We get to see, for the first time, on screen, the destruction of the USS Enterprise.
The first of many, as it were.
The first of many, yes. And also, almost not even the first, because the Yamato was destroyed, and it's basically the same ship.
They are sisters.
Destroyed twice. So, yeah, they're twins. So, but semantically, it's a big first.
But we'll have plenty of time to get into that. But before we start talking about this week's episode, I have to make sure. Do we have any public apologies that we have to do this week? I don't want to forget any.
Did we DM anyone this week?
I don't think we DM'd anyone this week, especially no illicit pictures were sent out this week.
Not this week, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We made sure to mention everyone, right, in our tweets. We didn't forget anyone.
I think.
Okay, that's good. You made that donation, right?
Oh, to God, what was it?
It was the breast cancer research, some breast cancer research agency.
Shit. No, I didn't make that donation.
That was part of your apology circuit.
Well, I donated to Trekkers Without Borders.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
We did. We had to put our money where our mouth was after we insisted that. We made the argument, foolishly, that the importance of the borders in the world.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
We're sorry
yes.
we're sorry.
It is thematically correct, I think. So.
Right.
That should go a long way, I think, in kind of proving that that's not who we are.
Yeah. I'm sure your $15 will make a big difference.
It was $25, Mitch.
Oh, sorry. In the fight against borders by Trekkers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who what is
curiously have nothing to do with Star Trek. I came to find out.
Right. What is? I know that's a French organization. What's the French name again?
Les Tréquions what is it?
Frontier?
Yeah. Frontier. Yeah, that's right. Les Tréquions sans frontières.
Oh, keep that
That's
up.
It.
We might have to make a donation to France.
But we got it. Yeah. So, in case there's any French speakers, that's how you can look them up. And I encourage you to donate. Definitely donate under the Readier Room name if you can. You'll be supporting us. You will get a sense of satisfaction from it.
When you donate, just type in the code Readier and you'll get 15% off your donation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they match it to some degree.
Match game.
Right. They donate to themselves to some degree.
Well, a non-profit, any profit they do make cannot be a profit, so they have to put it back into the system.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Indeed. Is that how it always works? I don't know. I don't want to...
Probably not.
I don't want to have to make another public apology, but maybe do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Google, type in what stocks were shorted on September 10th, 2001. Let's go find that out.
Mm-hmm. It's public knowledge.
Anyway.
Anyway.
With our apology circuit wrapped up for the week, it's always exciting to see what a new week brings, in this arena. But also brought on by the advent of a new week is a new question of the week, asked by our lovely, handsome, beautiful ensigns, one at a time, lined up in a queue, and for the solitary microphone that is the way we hear them.
I'm sorry, Mitch. Did you say Q?
Oh, I did say.
Did you say Q?
I said Q.
Oh my God. You said Q?
I was the first one to say Q this week. I know. I lost the bet.
We need a soundbite for this.
The Q alarm. We do you know
Q alert.
You know Kill Bill?
I know of it.
Do you know the siren that plays in that movie?
Yeah.
Q.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we need to next time we'll be on that.
Yes. Well, you've won the bet this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make a donation to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll have my $25 back.
And then some.
Mm-hmm. And then some.
Yes, we'll add it together and then we'll have a sum. So, This week's question of the week comes from, actually, a name you might recognize and a name the people at home might recognize. Comes from famed actor Jim Paulson, who's apparently a fan.
Wow. No way.
I mean, I didn't believe it either until I, opened this up, and I did some fact checking, but it's on the level.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm honored.
Same. It's just an example of our insane outreach that the Readier Room has.
It does go to show how much we're actually doing here, which is nice.
Yes. So Jim asks, "Hello, Admirals. What does a pro have to do to get a role on Picard 2? Thanks for everything you do, Ensign Paulson." All right. Well, I'm so reluctant to deliver bad news to somebody so accomplished as Jim Paulson. However, the shooting for Picard 2 is dead and done. It is finished. There's no way to get a role there. However, Jim, if you play your cards right, you can get involved in the next extra TNG adaptation. It's not going to be Picard 3, and I don't want to say too much about it. But I'll just say, if you're a fan of Data and Worf, be on the lookout. If you're a fan of the Odd Couple, be on the... I'm saying a little too much. Don't want to give it all away. But
yeah, sounds like a little bit of Dorf action.
Indeed,
is going to be coming our way.
Indeed, Dorf is a good coded word to use. Jim, if you're into Dorf and you want to work for Dorf, call us. Give us a call. We'll hook you up. I mean, you're an ensign. We'll do anything we can for you. And I'm sure this production that may or may not exist, and again, I can't say too much, we'll be happy to have you.
That's nuts. The last time I saw him, God, must have been 7 or 8 years ago.
It's been
at a coffee shop.
Really? I haven't heard this story.
Yeah, well, it's not much of a story. He does order drinks with almond milk in them, though.
Did they have almond milk 8 years ago?
Yeah, you're just slow on the uptake, Mitch.
I am. You're
not trendy like the rest of us.
Well, I've always heard that expression, like it's trying to squeeze milk from an almond, and I was very surprised to find that's a real thing.
Well, and this is something people always say, is that there's really not a lot of almonds in almond milk. So, what's the point, kind of?
Right. Well, I guess nobody wants a chunky milk. I've said too much.
I guess you can't liquidize an almond, can you?
No. This is also on the verge of metaphor.
So it should strike anyone as being problematic in some way if there were a lot of almonds in almond milk.
Yes,
Because then that would have been evidence of I don't know, some kind of foul play or black magic.
Well, how about this? People will drink orange juice that has pulp in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah, but that's different because juice naturally comes from the orange. You know, you don't take almonds and squeeze them and then liquid comes out. You know.
All right. Well, how about this? What is pasteurization? Because I hear a lot about milk being pasteurized.
Uh-huh.
And
What is pasteurization if not the withdrawal of the proverbial almond?
Indeed. And if milk is to be pasteurized, I don't see why the general public can't just pick an almond shell out of their mouth when they're drinking milk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's texture.
You raised a fair point, yeah, and that's a thing that I find. As a society, we are becoming infantilized to the point that I think in maybe 50 years we're all just going to be eating slop with zero texture to it. You ever talk to I don't want to single anyone out here, but this is kind of a woman thing.
Oof.
But you ever talk to someone and they say, I can't eat that. The texture's too much for me.
Yes, I hear this. I hear this quite often in regards to a lot of people with raw fish. A lot of people.
And it doesn't really make much sense, does it?
No, I mean, it does not. You're shoving it down your gullet. You're not making love to it.
Right. That's exactly how I would have said that. Yes. Suffice to say, it bothers me.
Now, are there any foods that you will eat, but you're not a fan of the texture of? Because obviously it's not going to stop you from eating something, but do you ever eat anything and you think, the mouthfeel of this is not so pleasurable?
I would say, well, I mean, I got to go with the low-hanging fruit, non-kotsu.
Oh my goodness,
I'm not a huge fan of.
The thing to me is that's a feature, not a bug. Like
Sure.
I love how that feels to like chew on and swish around in your mouth.
Yeah, I can see it having that appeal, but to me, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't do it for me. But I would eat it, if it was the last thing on the table and that was all I could eat, I'd eat it.
For me, the last thing on the table is usually the plate. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
If I had to single a food out for the texture, and I'll still eat it, it would be something like natto, where I know that's low-hanging fruit. Yeah, how it's kind of snotty, but
Yeah.
now I've had this conversation with many people, and I'll have it with you right now. Maybe we've had it before. Do you think
Probably.
Do you think that natto tastes vaguely like coffee?
I haven't had natto in probably 6 years.
I see.
So I generally try to avoid it. Why, did you have it recently?
Yeah, I've had it recently. Not so recently, I guess. It's been a few months, but every time I eat it, I think it's fine. I'm not like a big fan of it, but whatever. I get the overwhelming sensation that it tastes like coffee, and I know both natto and coffee are bean-based. They're bean-based foodstuffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it just has, the taste isn't exactly the same, but it's got a very coffee afterbirth.
So after birth. So natto is soy based. So the question is are soy and coffee related?
They might be cousins.
Should we look it up?
Yeah, we don't have anything better to do.
Is natto the body double for coffee?
Are soy and coffee related? Is coffee made from soybeans? Well, the coffee itself is soy-free. Anything you add to it might not be.
Ah,
well,
I never knew that.
That's very very thorough writing.
Well, I'm not getting anything from a cursory Google search, so I say we give up.
I usually Google searches are easier if you use the keyboard and not the cursor, but I also found nothing. So, what I'm getting from all of this is that Jim Paulson likes his almond milk.
Yes, that's right. Yep. To go back to the original story, I saw him drinking an almond milk cappuccino 7 years ago. I fished the cup out of the garbage after he was done with it, and I sold it on eBay.
What'd you get?
A pretty penny. I don't want to go into too many detailed numbers here, but lest I upset the market.
That's true. I just want to point out to everybody, we're not financial advisors. Don't take our advice. If you need, please seek out a professional financial advisor.
That's right.
Again, we're not sponsored by selling Jim Paulson's coffee cups. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that you have this little side hustle going on.
Yeah, well, not so much anymore because we started the podcast and that we're kind of we're doing well for ourselves now. But it's true what they say. When you want to make it in this business, it takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of effort that everyone needs to put in is quite high, and there's never a moment where you can not be vigilant. You're just getting you're getting a latte. You see someone in this Tinseltown of ours, someone famous. You gotta squeeze every bit of worth you can from them.
Yeah, like an almond.
Like an almond. And Jim, thank you for your question. If you again take us up on our offer, we'll hook you up with that almond milk on the set of quote unquote Dorf. Looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, so that'll about do it for our question of the week. I want to remind everybody, if you would like to ask your own question of the week, send us an email at thereadierroom@gmail.com with capital T, 2 capital R's, or you can tweet at us at the Readier Room with your questions. We'll answer them once a week on the show if they're good. Okay, so with that preamble out of the way, we're going to talk about this week's episode, which is Season 2, Episode 12, Times Squared.
Times Square.
Times Square.
Times Square.
Times New Roman.
Times Queer.
Oh. You really think that about the magazine?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is a compliment, of course.
Right.
Nowadays,
it's you reclaimed that slur.
Yeah, well, we have.
Yes.
Our whole culture has. So.
Indeed.
But let's not get into that. What did you think of Times Squared?
Loved it.
Okay.
I thought this was a particularly strong episode, and for the most part, what I liked about it the most, I guess I would have to choose between the scenario and the writing of Picard himself. I thought both of those were very strong points. And as a complete package, I think the episode worked very well. I was very happy with it. Definitely on my top 5 of what we've watched so far. What did you think about it?
I did not like it.
Oh no!
Very much. I thought it was extremely boring. I thought, for whatever the narrative was and could have been, most of the episode was spent by characters hemming and hawing about what they should do, like that Spaceballs bit where he says, "You're always preparing." A lot of Picard walking back and forth between medical bay and the bridge, and then when it gets down to the final act and Picard has to make a decision on what to do, it almost seems like he's forgotten everything, every rule about time loops, which we've just gone through in the previous episode. And then, of course, Maurice wanted this episode to lead into something like Q Who, where Q would have been kind of the mastermind behind this whole time loop thing. And Gene didn't like that. Gene said no. So we end up with a conclusion that makes very little sense. It's very vague, and I don't think it's vague in a way that prompts discussion or intrigue. I think it's just unnecessarily confusing.
Well,
or just
to me, I thought that the conclusion made sense it just unto itself. I haven't thought too deeply about it, and it's entirely possible that if I do, I'll reach a different conclusion. But just watching the episode as it happened to me, and I saw the conclusion, it's like, okay, if Picard makes a different decision, the loop is broken under the assumption that this has looped many times before, and that's enough.
I guess it's less that the episode doesn't make sense unto itself. It's less that than it is just I guess I wasn't satisfied with the logic behind that action. Driving into the middle of a vortex seems to solve their problem, which I don't think it's satisfying. I don't think it's at all.
It's very vague.
It's vague, and it doesn't reflect at all on any character's actions. It has no weight to it. It's like a binary. You either drive into the middle of the vortex or you don't.
Right.
And there's nothing really learned from it.
No, it's funny because this episode is kind of written to have a character arc for Picard when he doesn't really have one in this episode.
Yeah.
Which I said I liked Picard's writing, and it's not because he has an arc or he is developed, but rather I think that a lot of the more quiet moments of the crew and Picard discussing the problem, Picard displays a very consistent leadership with what the character would eventually become as it's developed throughout the seasons. When, in many, many recent episodes that we've watched, there's been a lot of, these characters are acting ridiculous compared to themselves. I thought this was an early example of Picard being Picard.
I think you've got a case there.
Yeah, there's one example in particular where I think it's the meeting scene where Geordi has recovered the footage from the shuttle and shows everybody the video of what happens, and they're faced with the destruction of the Enterprise, with the fact that this is going to happen in just a few hours, and Picard is extremely level-headed about it, extremely logical, and while conceding the direness of the situation, still just shows us great Picard-like leadership. And, I was like, oh, this is the Picard I know. Fucking finally. Like, goddamn. And
yeah, sure. I think you're right about that.
That moment might only work so well because of having watched half of season 2 and all of season 1 before this. Like, if you were to watch this just out of that context, you'd be like, oh, whatever, it's Picard. That's how he always is. And it's not that special. But for the context of the episode, I enjoyed that a lot.
Okay, yeah. I don't disagree with you on that. I think Picard's character is done justice here. I guess I can't help but think that it could have been more interesting to see him interact with a version of himself that felt so displaced like that. Which, I also have to note while we're on the topic that Patrick Stewart is actually guest starring in this episode as the future Captain Picard, in case people didn't notice for whatever reason. And that's always a difficult decision, having an actor play two different characters, right?
Right.
You have Data and you have Lore. You have Dr. Noonien Sung, right? All Brent. But Patrick, I think, pulled it off with the Blom here.
The most annoying part of whenever this happens is that the people responsible for making the script for the actors, getting the copies, they have to get two copies for that actor, right?
Yeah, because we employed sort of a method acting sort of training, I guess you might call it, where it was kind of just expected that when one actor played two characters, that actor himself would it would just be taken for granted that he would on and off set be portraying both the two characters and two different actors, right?
Right. When we did the table reads, there'd be 2 seats for that actor, and depending on which line they were reading, they'd have to go sit in the other seat at the table.
And that of course changes based on whether the guest character is kind of a main character or not.
Right.
You know, for a lore, right? He's gonna have a seat up at the head of the table with the main characters. But if you have like a Dr. Soong, he's way on the other side, right? So the actor would have to get up and walk all the way to the other side, which I guess from a layperson's point of view, it's a little ridiculous. But I think that went a long way.
Actors are a special breed. I don't expect most people to understand, but that doesn't take away the validity of the approach.
Yeah. But just I think that's just a fun little look into the behind the scenes of a lot of what happened on the show, actually, because there's so many points where we have actors, you know, being used for multiple different roles, you know.
Right. Now, there were still some times where both Picards needed to be on screen at the same time.
Right.
And despite his best efforts, Patrick just wasn't that fast. So we were able to cast his cousin Matrick as the body double. And, you know, they're pretty similar genetically, so you could barely tell it's not him in those scenes. Yes. I was honestly kind of shocked watching it again, because I completely missed it. Right. It's just seamless.
The scenes in sickbay, yeah. It's we did an amazing job on that. I was really tickled by it, but I mean, I guess it really goes to show how close they look. You know,
yes,
Matrick is very Patrick-esque. Very, you know, we could probably replace him as Picard, and people wouldn't even notice.
I remember that after this, Matrick was really just infatuated with the Hollywood process, and he moved to LA to be available.
Right.
Should this happen again? Now, of course, we never really ended up meeting him again, but it was nice that he tried to accommodate the potential futures of the show needing him.
Yeah, well, you know, his issue was that by this point, he had been living in America for so long, he'd lost the British accent. So, and for whatever reason, he just couldn't get it back. He talked kind of funny, so there was really limited capacity in which we could use him.
Now, I remember that Patrick, every day, he would watch an hour of Blackadder just to retain his accent, just to hear it.
Right. And he loved Blackadder.
Loved it. He insisted on us bringing, what was it, Rowan Atkinson onto TNG. And, you know, I kept telling him, Patrick, this is not a comedy show. And he said, he'll do it. But when we called up Rowan's agent, we got a very, very rather hurtful and strongly worded message about, quote, that sci-fi bullshit.
No kidding.
Yeah, I didn't have the heart to tell Patrick, and I didn't want to tell most people in case it get out to him. But I
guess now's the time.
That battleship was scuttled very quickly.
Now, do you think that was just his agent's opinion, or?
No, it's because I remember he said, he's relaying Rowan's message, and he used the phrase, and I quote. So that does kind of do away with any ambiguity, doesn't it? Yeah, and the worst part is that Rowan Atkinson thought it appropriate to, at some point in his career, do the film Rat Race, but TNG was beneath him. So,
right.
So what does that say about us?
You know, we got a lot of that kind of attitude starting off, and I guess we still do today.
Indeed. You say Trek, and people just fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. It's a damn shame.
A goddamn shame. A GD shame.
What? Nah, I'll pass on making a joke there.
You should do that more often.
What do you think the texture of Riker's eggs was like?
I think they would be soggy. They looked wet. and
They looked somehow overcooked at the same time.
the color was off, certainly.
Yeah, they were very white,
Yes.
just dull.
So I blame this all on John. 100%. I first of all, I know what eggs we got for this, and I know what ingredients he had available for this scene.
Were they not alien eggs?
They were not alien eggs. They were not from
Oh.
Targus 4 or whatever.
Okay.
They were chicken eggs. And you could have made a fine omelet. You know, we had all the fixins there, had little bacon bits, some chopped onions,
Right.
anything you want. And this was specifically to accommodate John, because the first addition, I don't know, the first vision for that scene was that Riker would be making sushi, because sushi is something that has a very detailed way of making it, approach.
Yeah.
Something that a replicator could conceivably not get right.
I mean, we've all seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi, of course.
Right. And John said, no, I can't do that. Didn't even bother to try. Said, I can't do it. I won't do it. And we're like, okay, so we rewrite it, and John's like, I can make an omelet. So we put omelets in there, and we get him all this stuff. And as soon as we start filming, John just starts making fucking scrambled eggs. Doesn't even bother to make an omelet.
And mind you, it's probably something like 4 eggs on a pan that he splits between everyone.
Yes. And we're all watching this behind the camera, because first of all, they're reading the script as it's written. He says omelet, clearly not making an omelet, and we can't just stop the scene, especially a scene like this where you can't just stop something as it's cooking. You just have to get your take. And as soon as we cut, I said, John, what are you doing? We're supposed to make an omelet. And he says, it's just eggs. It's all eggs. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't think John has ever eaten an omelet in his life.
I must not have, and I think Joe just kind of decided it wasn't worth it.
But now we have this continuity error, just right in the show.
Well, I mean, maybe a future omelet is just scrambled eggs.
Maybe, but
maybe it's evolved in that direction.
This whole scene was bizarre to me. Even taking that issue aside.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Riker's going to teach Worf, Pulaski, and Data something about cooking, and all 4 of them get together to eat breakfast.
Right. They all get together to eat scrambled eggs. I do also want to note this scene. Lots of door opening and closing, which, of course, got to give a shout out to the door guys.
Love the door guys.
The one who is still with us.
Well,
at least
I'll always refer to them as a pair. They are,
yeah. But don't want to get too down. But they had a lot of work to do in that scene because people were not entering, all as a group. It was one at a time.
Right. And
they had to make sure we saw that. So. It's just one of those things that goes underappreciated. But yes, for some reason, these characters have decided to all get together in Riker's room to watch him cook some eggs and then sit down and eat basically the equivalent of a single egg each.
A single overcooked white egg.
Yes. And Worf has an interesting line here as well. That I mean, it's interesting on its face, and it's even more interesting, audience, when you know what it was to begin with. So Worf says something about usually humans, the woman shares in the cooking, right? And this was, of course, heavily toned down from the original. The original just took up so much time that the opening stinger wouldn't have cut till commercial till I don't know, like 10 minutes. And we tried moving the original lines, I guess you would say, around a bit. But we figured having Worf dropping truth bombs about gender roles apropos of nothing, just while the Enterprise tumbled to its doom, probably would have detracted from the message. And as you might expect, Gene was kind of hurt by this, kind of hurt by the exclusion.
Yeah.
Of another one of his kind of emotional, because this is what Gene would do is he would work in his like emotional outbursts into the script.
Star Trek was very much therapy for him.
Yeah, it was cathartic for him. So when we had to get rid of one of these things, every now and then, it ended up being a fight. And this I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reason why we didn't go with the original Q script. He was just being vindictive.
I think at this point, Gene was really starting to feel TNG slipping through his hands, like trying to hold on to water.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you could tell.
There's always that kind of visceral reaction, like, oh, I'm going to try even harder to grasp it. But just like with water, the harder you grasp, the more of it slips out.
Yeah.
Which
it's a sad thing to watch.
It's sad, but I hesitate to say it's unfortunate that Gene did not retain the Iron Fist on TNG like he wanted.
Well, we ended up with a much better show for it, so
we did. Now, I would not have minded seeing that version of the script, where the Enterprise is, doing barrel rolls as it's thrown around an energy vortex, and Worf's just grasping onto the console, talking about gender roles and all that,
divorce rates, and
yes,
Captain. It would have been unique if nothing else, but alas, we got what we got, and that line ends right where it began, in Riker's room, eating eggs.
They don't even get to finish the eggs.
No, because what happens?
I think they're just called out to the bridge for some reason.
They are, right?
Right. Why? What starts this?
Because the shuttle that's floating out.
Okay,
space.
They find the shuttle. Now here's the thing. You didn't like this episode, but tell me, when they recover the shuttle and they find the Enterprise's call sign, I don't know, it's the model number on it, that you didn't think that was a genuinely intriguing moment.
Yeah, sure it is. Like, I have no problem with the concept of this episode, and I think this is kind of the case with most episodes I dislike. I like the concept, but just not the execution, that's all.
Well, at least we can agree on that. When I saw that, I kind of like sat up in my seat a bit and I'm like, oh, yeah, what's happening?
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is another one of those episodes you just forget what happened in it because it's been so long.
Yeah, it's been
so. Yes,
it's been so long since I watched it. I thought when we started up it was going to be a Troy's mother episode, and imagine my surprise when she was not in that shuttle.
Right.
I got my
that would have been a
crossed.
good one.
Yes.
They find a shuttle with Picard inside. Now, I have a question for you, Mitch. It's a little philosophical.
I'm in.
When you're referring to a clone, let's say it's you, your clone, and someone else in the room. When you're referring to that clone, do you call it him or me?
That's a him. If I ever knew one. It's just too confusing. So the point of language is to be understood, right?
I don't need you to go into that.
You prefaced this by saying a philosophical question.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So the point of language is to be understood, and while it might be more accurate to refer to both yourself and the clone as me or I, or we, us, I don't know, accuracy is going to lose out to comprehensibility.
Comprehensiveness?
Yes. Right? Yes. I'm
confused.
Well, no, I'm just astounded at my my lack of English ability. Comprehensiveness.
It doesn't even sound right, though. It doesn't sound right. Because comprehensiveness is like it's when something is comprehensive, not when something is comprehensible.
Right. So if comprehensible is a word,
comprehensibility?
That's what I said.
Did you say that?
I did. Well, anyway, comprehensibility, regardless of its status as a word. And you know what? This is kind of my point. Comprehensibility might not be a word, but both you and I understand what I mean by it.
Look, you gotta. This is not boding well for our Scrabble nights.
Look, you have to have an iron will to challenge me.
Uh,
Otherwise, it just doesn't matter. But
yeah.
anyway, comprehensibility is what
Yes.
matters. So
Yeah.
when your clone is in the room and you say him, it's you, your clone, and Irene, and you say him, Irene's gonna know what you're talking about, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you say I,
Well,
and she has to say, "Oh, do you mean you or do you mean clone?"
I was just a little taken aback that Picard didn't even hesitate.
I think part of this, I think this is the one attempt at an arc Picard has in the episode, because at the very end, once the other Picard is showing signs of life or signs of consciousness, I don't know. Picard, Sapiens, he goes to say him, and then he stops and says the other Picard.
Ah, okay, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, and he kind of gives it a bit. He recognizes its identity for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and this episode's trying to do things with Picard's reaction to the situation. Like, there's that bit where Pulaski doubts his leadership abilities in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this idea isn't really developed, but it's supposed to be that Picard is facing an existential stress from, the nature of this situation. Impending death plus meeting himself and the possibility that he was a coward and abandoned the ship. Like, there's a lot of these ideas are unspoken but implied. And part of that is Picard not recognizing his clone's identity as somewhat of a defense mechanism.
Yes.
It's very underdeveloped, but it feels like it's there.
Yes. You're right about that. That's a really good point.
So the language of it is playing into that.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Wow. Very good, Mitch. Very good.
Thank you. I've won the Readier Room for the week.
All right. Good night, folks. So they do find the shuttle. This is a very door-centric episode, is it not?
Yeah, the shuttle doors also have their own story. If you're watching the episode and there's this shot from inside the shuttle where the door opens, and I think it's Pulaski and Riker looking in. It's some amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at the door, you'll notice that it kind of moves up and then stops, and then it opens more, and then it stops, and then it opens a little more, and it stops. And the reason for this was that we had some new door opening technology used by our door guy.
Mm-hmm.
This one only took the one. And what he did was he hooked the door, because it kind of opens in that, I don't know, DeLorean style. It opens upward.
Yeah.
He tied some line to it, ran it through a pulley, and had the other end on a fishing rod. So he was able to reel in the door, and that would open it up. But the nature of how heavy the prop door was and a fishing rod, he couldn't really do it in one smooth motion. So he just did his best to wind it up. But what that enabled was a fully functioning, vertically opening door without any kind of, motors or anything. It was very, very simple fix.
Yeah, it's a stunning piece of ingenuity, really, and it ends up kind of working because you can imagine the shuttle got a little banged up on its journey here.
Yep.
So it might not necessarily open as quickly as a normally functioning shuttle door would. So I think it worked out pretty well. But it is a little conspicuous.
It is conspicuous. I think you have to be engrossed in the show to notice it, right? If you're sitting there texting on your phone because you're not so into it, you're not going to see it. But
right.
If you're one of those people who sits an inch away from your television, just taking it all in, you're gonna sit and point like, what's with that door? Why is that happening?
Yes. And so they call Picard down because they find Picard in the shuttle, and on his way down, Picard grabs Troy for some reason.
Well, every single member of the principal crew has to show up in that shuttle bay for that scene. And they do.
I don't know if he needed her to tell him what the other Picard was thinking or something.
Before he knew it was there.
there's an interesting line that I want to get your opinion on here.
Oh boy, I'm in for
Because
this.
I think he's talking to Data and Geordi, right? He says, I need to know what's on the shuttle's logs. And here's my question.
Hmm.
Would a Federation shuttle be carrying wood?
Now, I think that certainly it has the ability to, right? They can take
Yeah.
on somewhat of a load without, well, because space has no gravity, right? So it's not going to be
Mhm.
weighed down. But where do they get the wood? Is
Yeah,
a
I mean
good
that's the
question.
big question is where do they get it? What's it for? Is it some kind of emergency provisions?
This is never expanded upon, except for the
No.
fact that Geordi and Data were somehow able to get a video file from the log.
Right. So that that would also imply that the logs are some kind of storage medium.
Now maybe they made biodegradable storage discs, like
Oh, yeah, that could be.
like I carved a floppy disk out of this
And
wood.
it's kind of colloquial.
Right. It's a log. Maybe that's how it started. It started with logs, and then
Yeah.
as they moved away from that to a better material, they kept the name.
Ah. Okay. So it might not even be what we know as a log at all
Right.
at this point.
It could be a normal computer, but because at the first iterations of it were made from wood, they just keep the name log.
And that's the crazy thing about Star Trek. It's so interesting to see this glimpse into the future. Where you kind of have to expect the unexpected.
Indeed. And you can never be fully prepared for what an episode of Star Trek is going to throw at you.
Yeah. Yeah. But yes, Data and Geordi do pull a video from those logs, and you'll remember there was a great scene where they're in the shuttle trying to get it to work, and Data basically just says, "Do it backwards."
Yes. Well, there's a lot of that happening in this episode where things are just inexplicably reversed. They give
Yeah.
they give Picard either the second Picard, they either give him a stimulant or a sedative, and it has the opposite effect on him. Geordi and Data trying to calibrate the power to the shuttle, they have to do that in reverse. It's never explained why these things happen that way, other than just they came back through time, so of course that would happen.
Yeah, it's I don't know how believable it is, but apparently there's some kind of theme here,
and that never plays into the solution of the episode.
No, it doesn't.
Which it very easily could have.
Right. Well, if we're talking about doing things in reverse, the time loop is created by them trying to leave the vortex, whereas when they do the opposite thing, they're able to break the loop.
Now, how about this? How would you feel about, quote-unquote, our Picard sacrificing himself to continue the loop, which then enables previous Picard to leave with the Enterprise? Like, if previous Picard leaves again, then the loop continues as it is, but if new Picard, our Picard, instead goes in his place, then that has an effect on the loop.
I guess that's not a terrible idea, because what would be happening is our Picard would, become part of the loop and then get broken free from it when the next Picard sacrifices himself.
Exactly. The implications would be much more interesting than, oh, Picard vanished.
Yeah, it would be more interesting than Picard killing himself.
Now, did he kill that other Picard, or did he just stun him?
It seemed like it. It seemed like he killed him.
Yeah. Mostly, we just wanted to get a shot of Picard getting shot by a phaser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had that one on the books for a while.
Yeah, we took that, 3 seconds clip and put it on its own videotape, just to have to enjoy.
One other thing I do want to note here is that Dr. Pulaski does a lot of monitoring on this episode.
Yes, she does a lot of ministrations.
She monitors the bridge, she monitors the meeting. I guess all because she needs to stay with other Picard in
sick bay.
In the sick bay, but I didn't know she could monitor so much from sick bay.
Now here's the thing. why is the Doctor a character in this show? Pulaski, and to an extent Crusher before her,
Yeah.
both Gates, of course. Why have this character? Pulaski has done very little throughout the first half of season 2.
Yeah. Well,
The Doctor character seems to exist at this point by necessity. We can't write this plot without having a sick bay and a Doctor to go along with it, so we'll just have a character rather than something more organic that actively plays into many plots, like a Data or a Worf, who are easy to just put anywhere and fit into anything.
and that's the thing. To a degree, it is based on the fact that the original series had a Doctor, so we need a Doctor in this one, and even more so when Maurice got rid of the Crusher character in favor of Pulaski.
Right.
She just became more and more of an analog to the original series Doctor character, right?
Bones.
Bones. So, yes, you're right. It is kind of just a necessity, which is a shame because we've already talked about how good a character Pulaski can be, and Crusher's good too, of course.
Yeah, both of them are at their best when they're not just the Doctor. When Crusher's going on about her past with Picard, when Pulaski is having these these power struggles with Picard, challenging.
But that's
his authority.
the thing. They're only the Doctor when the plot necessitates a medical intervention.
Right.
Which makes sense. I mean, not everyone can perform, medical procedures or whatever. I think it's better than having a faceless Doctor. You know what I mean?
It's true, but I think the underlying problem here is that less attention is called to characters such as Worf, Data, Geordi, because they're more or less always on the bridge. You just see them in every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not a Worf-heavy episode, you're going to have him saying that he armed the photon torpedoes or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're used to him. Whereas Pulaski is the Doctor, whoever it may be at the time, they're only around when the plot needs them to be. And if they ever just show up, your attention's like, oh, they're in this episode. I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's a little bit rare that you see the Doctor in an episode that the Doctor is not in some way kind of directly involved.
And it's a little dissonant. Maybe dissonant's not the right word, but it certainly stands out when that happens because you're primed to think that they are going to have a big role. And if they ever don't, it really stands out. And it's like, okay, I guess this person's just a Doctor for
right
now. Which is a problem inherent with non-bridge characters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you see that with Guinan as well.
Yeah. Guinan is an even more interesting case because I think by virtue of being Whoopi, I know that sounds ridiculous. You expect a lot because Whoopi Goldberg's a good actress. She has a nice screen presence, and you just kind of you're wanting with that. So if Guinan ever just shows up, you're like, no, don't go, come back.
Yes. Not only that, but Guinan is one of the most powerful people on the ship, and it's often ridiculous to watch long stretches of episodes without seeing her once when the crew is in perilous danger.
Now, does Guinan have powers, or is she just sagely?
I'm pretty sure she does. Or maybe she is just sage-like. I don't know. I'm pretty sure she does have powers.
She did have the power to exist in 19th century U.S. without having virulent racism hurled at her.
Somehow, yes. I don't know. Should we look this up?
Does Guinan have powers? Sure.
Yeah.
That's the kind of question the Readier Room was made to answer.
Hold on.
Does Guinan
What are Guinan's powers?
I just want to point out, does Guinan have powers was an autocomplete on Google search.
So, it does talk about Q-Who, where Q is disturbed by the presence of Guinan.
Right.
Guinan responds by raising her hands as if to cast a magic spell of her own.
I'm seeing this exact page that you
Yes.
are,
Yes. It was the first result.
and this is a wonderful image. I wish the ensigns could see it, of both of these two looking ready to attack one another. Whoopi Goldberg's kind of posing like a cat, ready to claw you, meow.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I guess this is never expanded upon at all.
Brandon, what did the cat say when it got hurt?
Meow.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Guinan may or may not have powers, but she is certainly the most knowledgeable or wise person on the ship.
Yeah, it is. It is weird when she's not around.
It's a dynamic I would like to have seen written, and I'm not exactly sure how this would be handled, but
Wait, let me guess.
okay.
Data and Guinan.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Data's technical knowledge versus Guinan's ephemeral wisdom. Some kind of, not necessarily a conflict in the more violent sense of the word, but that being the primary issue within the episode. Maybe there's some kind of problem, and Picard has to. There's two different options based on Data's know-how and Guinan's life experience, and he has to choose between these, and it's a lot of talking to these characters and exploring the decision-making process. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, it's sort of like the conflict between the written word and book smarts and then oral tradition, sort of.
Right.
And kind of sagely wisdom. Yeah, I like that. It's a great idea.
Maybe there's room for it on Dorf.
Maybe. We brought Data back once. We can do it again.
Well, we can bring Data back as often as we need to. We can literally rebuild him.
Mm-hmm. He's a robot.
We'll build him older and fatter than before.
That's why Gene made him the way he was to begin with, because he was like 20, 30, 40 years from now we can just make another one and have a whole new wave of merchandise.
Very forward thinking.
We can have fat Data action figures.
It's just it's a beach ball that you blow up. So I would be remiss if I did not tell this story, and I kind of want to interject just to get it in, because it's such a fun story. There's some scenes of Picard Prime in sickbay, just kind of strapped down to the table as he's gradually recovering.
I was actually about to bring that up. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you and I both have this story in the mind. It's one of the more memorable parts of filming. Picard Prime kind of looks like a baby bird that fell out of its nest at times.
Yeah.
He's disoriented. He's kind of like struggling to take in the world around him. It's a very convincing performance, and there's a reason for that. Before filming those shots, the director actually kind of dosed Patrick with some LSD unknowingly. So Patrick was lying there, experiencing this I want to say high maybe for the first time, and had no idea what was going on. And that translated to his face perfectly. It was yes, dare I say, the most convincing performance throughout TNG.
It was really good. Yeah. And of course, when you're a third party observer, you can't help but laugh at the situation as well. Right. Of course, Will got his hands on it, which I think I shouldn't need to explain. That's why we don't see him at all in this episode.
We didn't see him for most of production. He had squirreled himself away.
Yeah.
I remember, I forget why. I think it was after Patrick had kind of a visceral reaction to the LSD after filming. I had to go get the mop, and I opened the closet, and there was Will in there, just huddled up into the corner. That cat's cradle string game? He was like holding that up. He had gotten naked by that point. It was very wild.
Yeah, I can imagine. Still kick myself to this day that I wasn't there to see that.
I know I saw it. It's one of those things that I can barely believe happened. You doubt your own memory with these things.
Right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised if no one believed us about that.
Which is fine. Maybe that one's just for us.
Yeah, that's fine. So, God, the meeting scene, right?
Which one? There's a few.
They have a meeting in the meeting room about
a meeting.
Oh, it's yeah. Jordy shows the video or whatever.
Yes. I remarked that I liked this scene earlier.
Okay, yeah. Data says an hypothesis.
Oof.
Yeah.
This is historical all over again.
Yeah, and Worf brings up the theory of the Mobius.
Right. This
which is actually a call forward to Sonic the Hedgehog.
Exactly.
I know it's kind of out there, but it's true.
Now, I really enjoyed the phrasing of that. That Worf, the warrior, apropos of nothing, brings up, quote, the theory of the Mobius, which is very sagely phrasing.
Well, he is a ranking Federation officer, I must remind you. So,
yes,
as stupid as Worf comes off, he needs to just for the sake of his position in that world, he needs to be smart to some degree.
Yes,
but yes, you're right. It's funny.
His role also is always, Captain, why don't we blow it up? And then someone comes in.
We just punch the door.
Now, Worf, that would break your hand. We can't do that.
And then a robot comes over and knocks him out.
Yeah, they always bring Worf along as like the muscle, and he's always the first to get overpowered as the sign that these guys are an actual threat.
Yeah, so then Data has to save them.
Right. You know, Worf really got mogged here. Data is both the brains and the muscle of every operation.
Yes. Data can solve any problem by himself. He eventually became a crutch.
So what role does Worf actually have? He's the only one that is wearing the beauty pageant winner sash?
I think that's why we spun off into several sort of Klingon-focused plot lines. Yes. Because then Worf could be the intermediary there.
And you know what? To be fair, I really enjoy those episodes.
Oh, they're some of my favorites.
That's next season, I think? Maybe season 4.
Yeah, they start next season.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. The Klingons, they have this spike protruding from their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
That's apparently part of them. Like, the physiology of their feet have this bone spike thing that protrudes.
Oh, really?
Yes, however, Worf, in his shoes, as part of his Enterprise uniform, does not have that.
Huh.
So
what, did he clip it off?
Who knows? It might be just like a toenail, but it also might be a bone. I'm not sure.
Oh shit, you're right.
But this needs answering. And I won't be sated until I've gotten my answer to this.
Worf feet.
Yeah, let's Google image Worf feet.
I did. Nothing really comes up.
Dang. What if we Google image Sonic the Hedgehog feet?
Well, that's for a different podcast.
That's true. Be sure to tune in to the Blue Blurs. It goes up every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
What else is on your mind for this episode? Do you have anything else? I feel like
I was shocked to discover they stick people to the bio beds with force fields.
Yeah, that's for their own protection, they say.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that would only exacerbate the mental anguish and fright that someone in Picard Prime's position would be in.
Yes, it would be concerning if you woke up completely delirious and found you couldn't move.
Right. So I don't really know what to say about that, other than it's kind of weird. Kind of strange. Yeah. Maybe the Enterprise isn't as morally good as we would like to believe. Or the Federation, I should say.
Yes, maybe there's some gray spots here.
Shades of the Mirror Universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a great way to put it. Yeah, what else? When Patrick goes to in kind of the final scene with the two Picards, where one of them's trying to get into the shuttle, when Patrick goes and touches the computer console, it shakes. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
I
it
completely
just
believe
looks
that
like
it
it's
would.
about to fall over.
That's a lot
It's
of our
just
sets, though.
this one was particularly bad.
I'll have to rewatch that because that sounds hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It's really funny. And I can't believe we used that shot, but whatever.
Because of how violently it shook.
Yes, yeah. It takes you right out of the episode. But yeah, I mean, otherwise that's it. We already kind of went over the ending and how we felt about it, and that hasn't changed over the course of our discussion, really.
No, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is not very related to this episode in particular, though it does show up here. Do you have any opinions on how Riker walks when he's exiting a room?
Like what is he, like saunter?
Well, here I can describe this to you exactly as it is. He puts his head down, and it's like his head is angled down, but he's still looking forward. Yeah. And then he kind of does this swagger walk out of the room. And he does this every time he exits a scene without fail.
Yeah, well, I think Frakes kind of had the same three moves that he did.
Yes, certainly. The eyebrow raise, the swagger walk, and the chair.
The chair.
So,
I guess it was probably something I just got used to. I've never found it like offensive or weird or interesting or anything like that. It just kind of is.
It's none of those things.
I like Riker.
I know you do.
So I like Riker, and I like Frakes' portrayal of Riker. So it's all kind of just cute to me.
It's one of those things that is not detracting from anything. However, when you watch TNG, if you're looking for this, the Riker exit scene walk, you'll find it like 2 or 3 times per episode, and it's amazing to me. I can't unsee it. It's one of those things.
I'll have to keep my eye open for it next time.
And keep one eyebrow cocked.
I'll have to sleep with one eye open.
Sleep with a tooth under your pillow if you want some free money.
Mm-hmm. That never worked for me.
Well, did you tell your parents that you had a tooth under there? That's a key part of the process.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What do they have to do with anything? I don't need a middleman.
Well, I mean, they relay the message to the parties that should hear about it.
Well, maybe I'll tell you next time one of my teeth falls out.
You can do that. You could tell me when last time I had a teeth that fell out. I called my mom and I said, "Mom, you'll never believe this. One of my teeth fell out. I'm gonna put it under my pillow." She said, "Okay." And next day, I had a quarter. It was pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, she's what now? 103?
Yeah, about. Her birthday's in November, so she'll be 103 soon. But she lives in Maine, just other side of the country. So I was really impressed that she was able to get the message relayed to the appropriate parties with that amount of speed.
Wow, she's one hell of a woman.
Indeed. That's what my father always said.
Yep.
And I said, "Dad, I don't want to hear about that."
Now.
Heyo.
The aquarium in the Readier Room seems to be missing fish.
I'm trying to remember what episode.
You're not going to remember.
Well, I know our fishmonger.
Yeah.
A lot of stories with him.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on this episode. I guess maybe we just didn't have the budget for it.
Now, is it possible that the fish were just in the back of the tank?
They could have been hiding. I don't remember what it was like on set for this episode too well, so.
You know what I think
it was? Possible.
We didn't have anybody on hand to do the fish's makeup, so they weren't ready to come on camera.
Oh, okay, yeah, and then you need someone to kind of coax them out and make them do the tricks.
Exactly. The trainer.
Yeah.
Who's a different person from the monger. The monger supplies the trainer.
These are all 3 different people.
Yes. It takes a lot of interlocking gears to get a production TV ready.
Yeah. Fish aren't known as the best actors.
Well, you know what they say in Hollywood: never work with children or fish.
Right. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, fish aren't the best actors, but they are the best dinners.
Mm-hmm. And they're the best band.
Indeed. The Readier Room is a big fan of fish. Look for us at this year's Fish Halloween show in Las Vegas. We'll have a small meetup booth, and you can get yourself readier while you're jamming out.
Yeah, and if you can't find us, just start asking around. I mean, someone should know where we are.
Right. Usually we're next to the Fellowship booth, if you know them. We're big supporters of a drug-free, sober experience. I've always said that Trek is my drug.
Yes, and you know what a great time to be watching Trek at a fish show.
Yes.
You kind of do some pre-gaming, watch some of your favorite TNG episodes, and then just go wild.
I don't think we need to mention the fish TNG connection.
No, I don't think we do.
So we won't.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's going to about do it for our discussion of this episode.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I still really liked it. My opinion did not waver over our discussion. In fact, I didn't listen to a word you said.
My opinion also did not waver. I still don't like it very much.
I guess we'll agree
to disagree.
Oh, I was finished.
Okay. Well, that's going to lead us into my question for you today.
Okay.
So we're still dealing with this Mirror Universe comic about a Captain Picard with a beard who is evil.
Yes.
And there is a connection between these two things.
Now, I do want to point out, I saw an episode of TNG recently that featured an evil bearded Picard.
Oh.
The Future Imperfect. I don't know if you remember this one.
Okay.
It's a Riker episode where Riker, first he's duped into believing...
Yes, I remember this.
He's duped. Yes, I remember it.
No, because it took me a minute, but I remember this. Don't spoil it for the ensign.
All right. So at some, then I'll just leave it at that. But that. Anyway.
We'll talk about it eventually. But yes, I know which one you're talking about. This issue, Picard is revealed to be keeping, for the purpose of consultation, he's keeping what you might call a creature, what you might call a character, inside a big locked box, huge box in some kind of storage room.
Okay.
And the whole idea is that when he needs to consult with someone, he goes down to that box and looks through the window and talks to this character.
Okay.
And this is a character that you know. And my question is, who is it?
Guinan.
Yeah, it's Guinan.
Nailed it.
Maybe a little too easy, but Guinan in this universe is just a crazy person who is totally disheveled and is completely feral, but for some reason is still extremely sage-like.
I don't know.
And Picard needs her around.
I can see it. I can see when you want to... So obviously all of the characters in the Mirror universe maintain some of their personality traits, but they're twisted.
Yeah.
And I think a good twist on the sagely, wise, soft-spoken character is the raving lunatic who's right 2 times a day like a broken clock.
Right. And
the mad prophet.
Of course, she's not there by choice either. Picard captured her and has imprisoned her in order to talk to her. I guess I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so that's A, I'm a fucking genius for getting that right.
Mm-hmm.
B, I can see that characterization. That seems like a pretty natural place for this comic to land. I imagine Picard is 1 step away from backhanding it across the face, this Guinan.
Probably.
That seems to be how he interfaces with most of these characters.
Well, most of these characters do have to beat each other up at some point, or kill each other.
Right. You said Barclay kills Yar? Yeah.
Yep. He just kills her with a knife.
I think that was one of the holodeck programs that Barclay ran in Proper Team.
Yeah, probably. And then he gets to have sex with Troy.
I was going to say the body.
Oh, well, yeah, could do that too. Barkley would be into that kind of thing.
Yeah, we like Barclay. We stan.
Yeah, we love him. Mm-hmm. We stan.
All right, well, I guess that'll about do it for this edition of the Readier Room.
All right.
This was among the readiest rooms that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I implore everyone listening to come join us again next week where we ratchet up the readiness, the readierness. Mm-hmm. And until then, everyone, in your own homes, in your own lives, in your own abodes, and in your own dim modes, please stay ready.
The troublesome little man-child.
Consider that in the history of many worlds, there have always been disposable creatures.
Do you consider yourself superior to us?
Should have told him to mind his own damn business.
But I stroked the beard thusly. Do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer! Freeze program.
It's not a promising beginning.